Hello, hello, hello. So, I am here to endorse you to start your games with 1 to F4. That's right, 1 to F4. Now, what is the problem with starting to 1 to E4, 1 D4? Why am I endorsing to play this such a dubious opening? Well, the very simple reason is that E4 and D4, I used to be a devout E4 player, by the way. I would live by it. But the problem is that I would learn a couple openings, but then they wouldn't go into the response I would like to. And there are way too many openings and variations that I have to study in my repertoire. And it is just a hassle to deal with, right? Like with E4, you have Sicilian, Caracan, Scandi, French alone, right? Not to count Owens and like modern and a bunch of stuff, right? D4 is kind of the same thing, right? And so with F4, this is kind of like a cheat code for like repertoires because you're going to be playing almost the exact same way as all of the blacks' first move responses, second move, etc. You're going to be playing almost the exact same way. So watch. E5 being the most common move. But like I said, black can start with various ways here. Other than G5, they have C5, C6, D6, E6, knight F6, knight C6. All of the things that you would typically find in when you start with E4 and D4, right? But D5 is the most common one. You're going to be playing knight F3, knight C5 over here, being the move chosen, and knight E3. And basically, if black chooses to follow the opening principles, you are going to be employing your ideas in this little setup over here, this little system. And you're going to be playing almost the exact same way with interchangeable ideas, but almost the exact same. The idea over here is to control E5. And knight C6 threatens it. You are going to be pinning the knight to the king, right? This bishop over here, this bishop belongs on b5. And if you can play bishop to b5, pinning the knight to the king, then you absolutely should, right? However, some people, they might be a little bit cocky, right? They might be playing a6 to stop your bishop from going to bishop b5, right? I've seen this before. Well, if you cannot put the bishop on b5, then put the bishop on e2. And you might be saying, well, this is kind of a similar to like a classical, the killer Dutch, right? That's because it is, right? It is kind of like a reverse system, but you have a tempo up. And this would be crucial later. Right? So, knight to c6 here. And now, yeah, knight to f6 is the most common move here. You're just going to take, and after everything settles down, black has double pawns on the c file, which could be a liability later, right? Now some of them might be aware of this double pawns, and they might try to play bishop to d7. If bishop to d7, right? Some people, they might just take this right away because they know that I have to take this anyways. You can just castle over here, right? You can just castle. And this is, you're going to be almost playing the exact same thing anyways, right? But okay, right? Takes, castle. And as you can see, the eval is leaning a little bit towards us. As you can see, it's a bit like hundreds. E6. And now, this is our first idea, right? The first idea is to play f4, knight f3, e3, and put the bishop on either e2 or b5. And if the bishop is on b5, trade for the knight, right? Now, introducing the second idea. b3. b3 here with the idea of playing bishop to b2. And the point is that you now have 3 pieces controlling the e5 square. You have 3 pieces over here compared to black's 1, right? Some of them might even play like bishop to e7, and now there are no pieces controlling. None of black's pieces are controlling e5, so this is all for yourself, right? But okay, bishop to d6, bishop b2. bishop to d7 here. And now introducing our next idea over here. The third idea in the system over here is d3. d3 with the idea of going knight bd2. And so after castle, knight bd2. And now our fourth idea here is you want to play knight to e5. Now some people over here might find knight g4 being the best move here. Then now you have queen to e1, right? This is our fifth idea. The fifth idea is to play queen to e1. Fourth idea is to play knight e5. Fifth idea is to play queen e1. These are like interchangeable, but generally you play queen e1 to protect the loose e3 pawn, because it might get attacked, it might get forced. So, but the much more common move here is queen to c7, to which, well, you can play queen e1 immediately. I like to play knight to e5 right away, right? Knight to e5 controlling all of these beautiful squares. And so now, what is the best move here? The best move here is like bishop to e8. But a lot of people here have actually seen this knight as a threat and decided we should remove it. 6. As you can see, the eval bar has skyrocketed to +2. After pawn takes, this knight has to go somewhere, right? Go here because the queen is this diagonal. So it has to go back all the way to knight e8, right? And so now, after, well, queen g4 is the best move here. Queen g4, you can play knight to f3. You even play d4 to just consolidate everything. But one of my alternative thing, and this is our sixth idea. Sixth and probably final idea, right? Put something on f3. Let's say alternatively, black doesn't want to take on here, right? And the sixth idea here suggests that we can play rook to f3 or knight df3, right? If you're a more passive player, play knight df3. If you're a more aggressive player, do the rook lift. And so, as you can see, rook to f3 here is a perfectly viable move with the idea that of going to rook h3 or rook g3. And this move just offers so much versatility, right? And so now let's follow like the most common moves here. We have f5, rook h3. After that, queen to h5, and you're going to be starting kingside up. So we've seen the power of this, right? We've seen a little glimpse of just how simple to play this, right? Let's open just a new analysis, and I'm going to be showing you the mainline setup all over again. So you have f4, f4, knight to f3, and then e3. First three moves. Now, let's say this, right? If the knight is on c6, right? If the knight is on c6, then you're going to want to pin it. And after that, no. And after that, you are going to take it, right? For isolated pawns. Or maybe a bishop. Something like that, right? And then you're going to be castling. Play b3 and bishop b2 to control this e5 square. Play d3, knight bd2, knight e5 to control everything. And then you have the options of playing rook to f3, rook h3, or knight df3. And then you also have queen to e1 with ideas of going to queen g3, and queen to h4. All right. So that over here is the mainline setup. Now, let's go to the stuff that you will be prepared, right? The so-called refutation of the birds of an egg, which is, there's technically two reputations you can say, but the so-called reputation here is the Fromm's Gambit. The Fromm's Gambit over here is, well, it's a very good track. You might have seen a couple YouTube shorts before, or TikToks, I don't know how you call them that anymore, of this little trap over here, right? Takes. takes, this is the main line. Depend. But then h3 taking the bishop away, just the main one. And it's not really pleasant at all, right? So, and also, every single guide over here, they're going to tell you to accept it, put here, and then there are just a lot of trickeries, right? Other than bishop to g4, they might also have g5, which is the Lasker. Maybe some of them might even try to play the Langheld over here, which is hyper aggressive over here, right? And so after that, you get into all this, you have to learn how to play in a bunch of things. How unpleasant is this, right? Like, even though it's like plus 0.5 for us, it's just really unpleasant. So I'm going to be introducing you to an alternative way to be playing against the Franz Gambit. And this idea was suggested by FIDE master Keith Hayward in his Bird Tilting Club, which I'm going to be popularizing it. So f4, e5, f takes, d6, and instead of taking it, knight to f3. Knight to f3. Now, two moves over here, which is knight c6 delaying, and just straight up taking it. It doesn't really matter of the move order, but after takes, instead of taking back and then going back into some sort of Lasker from game accepted, you're going to be playing e4. And if you are a King's Gambit player, you might be saying, oh, this kind of looks like King's Gambit actually, because you got the knight up and like the F file is open, right? This is because of the move order, right? Because of the move order we have employed, which is f4, e5. And then right after that, all the way over here, we play e4 back. This move order give us an accomplishment of a way superior King's Gambit. We will see that in a moment. So, if you are an e4 player, right, you're going to follow the very basic principles, but there are some tricks and traps here. Let's see. Knight c6, bishop to c4, right, attacking f7. You'll see that f7 becomes a liability later. By the way, some people might actually be tempted. Some people might actually be tempted to play this, right? Little trap over here with the bishop c4, right? If you play knight to f6, get this, right? You can sack, you can take this pawn, a check, and you're going to win the bishop. Little trap over here, right? Most of my opponents don't really fall for it though, probably because they know. So bishop c4, and let's go like most common move here, knight to f6, and then now you're going to be playing this move over here. You're going to be playing queen to e2. Queen e2. White queen to e2. Well, bishop c5 is going to come some way somehow, right? And now you have this trap over here with bishop takes f7, which guarantees you a brilliant move if you're into them. Bishop takes f7 with check. The best moves to take, but after that, queen c4, king e8 takes, and after knight takes, you go back, queen to e3, and the king can no longer castle, but we still have castling rights, right? And let's say like the best move here, knight to d6, we can just castle, and as you can see, we are very much happy, right? The f file is open. We might be taking this pawn sooner or later, right? And black cannot castle at all. So just this little trap over here is very good. It is very potent. But the only exception to when you shouldn't take bishop takes f7 when there's the bishop here is, let's say for example, they delay it all the way, right? Let's say delay it all the way, bishop c5, right? Now this is a blunder. Now this is a blunder because now after takes, go back here, that'll be inevitable. Bishop takes, if they find knight takes e4, right? Your king's side is open. Your king's side is open and you are basically done, right? So pawn takes, here, queen d1, queen g4, king c2, takes, you lose the rook. Very unpleasant. But That is just how that instead of learning all of the complicated from Gambit accepted Lasker variations, etc., this is the best way to completely neutralize the from Gambit. Finally, the last thing notes, right, is that some people might be seeing some Naroditsky, a bit of Danya over here, and then plays the Horsefly Defense. If they play the Horsefly Defense, right, with all these trickeries of going to F5, and it's objectively good, but how do we deal against this? Well, we are just going to be taking the center. If they don't want it, then we are going to take center. Let's say D5 here. Takes. After that, we're going to be playing knight F3 as usual, and this is kind of like a different flavor. But eventually, we get into a little bit of position like this, and this is at this point you can probably just play opening principles, and you will still be fine, right? So if knight h6, just play e4, and then you are just all good because f5 is controlled. After d5, there's also a pretty wild line here, which is c3. After takes, you lose casting rights. I don't really endorse, right? I think you can just play really normally, and then eventually you get to this thing which looks a little bit like a Scandinavian, which just play normal moves like a3 to stop like knight b4, or I mean maybe like bishop to c4. Oh, bishop c4 is bad. No, it's not. It's not that. Bishop c4, right? Just play all of the normal moves that you play in e4, and this just a pleading you open, right? So now that we got that all the way to conclude, right? Just to conclude, we have covered the main setup, which applies for almost all of the responses. And with front gambit, you are going to, instead of taking, you're going to be playing knight f3, neutralize it by going into king's gambit accepted type of position, and you might be able to get a little bit of traps with bishop takes up7. And with the horsefly defense, just c4. Just c4 and just play chess. Because the entire point of the bird zoning, right? The entire point as a very good bird zoning player, I believe his name was Robert Ramirez, national master. When you play the bird opening, you're basically telling to your opponent that you just want to play chess. You would just want to play chess, and there are no complicated traps. There are no complicated things over here, right? This is a very neutral opening, right? A little bit aggressive, but at the end of the day, playing this opening gets you to the middle game safely, and after that, you can focus on the middle game plans. That's really it. So as you can see, I have just covered the entire bird's opening theory, almost the entire bird's opening theory, in about, oh damn, 18 minutes. Right. I've just covered all of that in 18 minutes. So you can just see how easy it is. Now, feel free to do a little bit of research. One thing that I didn't cover here, which is f4 g6, which is apparently the best response here. For this one, you can probably employ the exact same setup too. Although it's probably objectively losing because you cannot play b3 over here. Another alternative way to play this is just to play in Leningrad with all these shenanigans, and then eventually try to control the center with all these moves, and then get your bishop somewhere, right? But playing the Leningrad isn't really my thing, and so with g6, I tend to still play the normal moves over here, and then play something c3. That's like castle d4, right? And I'm going to be putting my bishop on d3. Because now I have the entire center, and I think this is still practically good. You just have to deal with a little bit about this dark square bishop. But I think it's overall fine. So, thank you for watching this video, and hope to see you in the future.